And the real reason we're leading into content and collaboration piece and looking at options is that in many situations where we've been in, trying to find, as a line of business owner, trying to find the resourcing within your own organization to make your process work efficiently and how it works and control your documents is extremely hard. So if I've got a content, so most of the people in this room have a content management system really running in their system, in their organization. The real difficult piece is to understand how that works and how to create one major system to fit every single business need. So we say, let's look at the individual business processes and give them their own system that they can control. They can control the content, the life cycle, and the workflow directly by themselves for that process. And on that point, I'm going to hand over to Neil, who's going to show you how. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Normally when I have a mic, I start singing, so I better not do that today. My name's Neil Rayment. I'm from Xerox. I've worked for Xerox for over 20 years now. 15 years of that has probably been in imaging and content management, consulting, implementing, thank you, solutions to streamline business processes across many different industry sectors, healthcare, manufacturing, transport, etc. So I'm just going to continue with the DocuShare theme. I'm actually from the DocuShare business unit. It's an enterprise content management system. It seems a little bit strange doing it at the end of saying exactly describing what it can do. But most of the time, well, every single time we've put DocuShare into a customer, we don't go and ask, have you got an enterprise content management platform? Okay, it's what are your pain points and where can we use this to help your business processes? So that's a key point. So just to give a bit of background on DocuShare, it's a highly intuitive and secure enterprise content management system. It's also very mature. It's over 15 years old. It's a Xerox product, but it's also very scalable. And in that I mean it's from 10 to thousands of users. We use it internally. Xerox is thousands of users, and we use it globally. And many instances of that, of DocuShare as well, not just the one instance. It enables document-intensive organizations to dynamically capture, manage, retrieve, and distribute information easily. Okay, dynamically capture, you saw some of that from the smartphones, and also from the Connect key for DocuShare for the MFP. It's tightly integrated with our MFPs. It also helps customers significantly improve their productivity. And the biggest strength between DocuShare, Enterprise Content Management System, and something like SharePoint is the workflow. And that's what I'm going to show you. Well, you've seen 2 examples of it already from Marc, and I'll show you some more, and I'll talk about content rules as well. Okay. It's the leading industry in speed of deployment. We have it in the cloud, so if that's what you prefer, you can purchase user-based licenses, or you can have it on-premise as well. And I can install it in 30 minutes and have you up and running, okay? I'm not saying that I can do it on every site, but 30 minutes you can be up and running using DocuShare, okay? Collaborating with all your documents, versioning your documents. And as I've already stated, it's tightly integrated with the Xerox work centers. So what I was going to show you here is, well, it's great. We've got all this documentation. It's now digitized. Okay, we've had some invoices coming in. We may have some time-sensitive or some compliance-sensitive documentation, things like contracts. You know, they're up for review after a year. It might be policy documents, HR policy documents. It may be patient records. Might have a 7-year retention date on them. Do we know where those documents are? Have we got a control of those documents? They're digitized, but have we got a control? Using the same platform, we can control exactly that sort of information. Okay, and these are just some of the pain points if you don't have this sort of thing in place. Okay, so this may be you. You may already have a content management system in place, but if you don't, you may be using a shared drive somewhere. You don't know what the permissions are. It's unsecure. No one really knows whether they're looking at the latest version. You may be saving multiple copies of that across many different systems, maybe locally. That could be an issue as far as compliance is concerned. You can't gain access to those documents when you need to because they're behind a firewall when you're at home, etc. You may have those review and approval processes in place, but they can be easily circumvented because no one's actually enforcing that, or no system's enforcing that. And security and access to the documents is really quite unmanageable. There's no auditability of who's reviewed and approved it, or published or even deleted a document. And if there are periodic reviews that come up on contracts and policy documents, etc., is there any real control over that? Okay, any compliance-related documentation, things like 7-year retentions, etc. So, Lifecycle Manager for DocuShare and also content rules for DocuShare, used in conjunction, can address all of these challenges. Okay, and I'm not going to go through all of those there, but it ensures that you collaborate on documents that are up for review. And the example that I'm going to show is, again, keeping on the HR theme, looking at a simplified document lifecycle. So we start at the top. We have our documents already in DocuShare, in the repository, and they have a yearly review cycle. Okay? So when the document expires, Louis here is going to get notified via email that it's coming up for review in 2 weeks. Okay? And I need to review this and update the document. It needs to go through approval to Sue, who's head of HR. And then once she's reviewed and approved it, it can then be published, and the new version is there, already in place, and every user can see the new version. They're not having to wonder whether they're looking at an older version. It's already there. They're pulling the latest version down. Okay? Do I just hit? How do I hit?
Just get to the next slide.
Okay, so I think it just shows the life cycle again in a minute, so we'll just let that go through. So the Lifecycle Manager is looking for any policy document that is coming up for, that's expiring within 2 weeks within the system. So the first thing that we'll see is admin being logged in, and you'll see the rule that's set up. It just shows you how easily it is to set these rules up. So we're going into the Lifecycle Manager policies. This one here, I know it's difficult to see. It's saying it's a policy document due for renewal. Okay, and it's looking at a particular collection within DocuShare. And if it reaches 14 days before, I'm going to be notified. And it's also going to send kick off a content rule event. So something's going to be triggered within DocuShare as well. So Louis is going to get notified, plus it's going to send off a workflow approval. So if we look in our HR documents again, we were in our personnel files last time. If we look in policies, we have a home working policy here, and at the time this demo was done, I believe it was the 19th of October, and you can see here that's actually saying the 26th, expiration date is the 26th of October. So that Lifecycle Manager will kick in every single day, and then say, okay, well, there's another document here that's due to expire. Okay, now we're going to log in as, sorry, no, we're not. We're looking at Louis' inbox. And you can see he's now got a new task in there that says there's a policy document for review. And there's the link to it. You can click on the link and go through the workflow. He has to log in, obviously being a secure system. Okay, we can look at the document that's currently in our published document. We can open that up in whatever our native viewer is. In this instance, mainly it would be Word, and most people are using Word, but this is actually OpenOffice. Okay, we just have taken a look at that document, and we can make any alterations to that document. But what Louis has done, he's actually prepared one and saved it to upload as a new version in a minute. So we're just going to close that down. Now we're on our local drive. We're going to edit that document. Sorry, I said he'd prepared it, but he hasn't prepared it. We say it's version 2. He's going to add some changes into the text. Okay, save those changes, and then we're going to upload it as a new version within this particular workflow. In fact, we're going to upload it as a draft because it's not currently in publication. Okay, we can add some version comments on there as well if we like. And once that's done, we can look at the properties of that document and then close it down. And then that will get sent to Sue for her review and approval as well. So you can then open that document up, review it in any way. If you use Word, track changes, etc., you can also add those in there. DocuShare won't do anything to the physical file at all, so that will all be kept. Sue can add her comments in there, and if she's happy with it, she'll say reviewed. Okay, and the last stage in this is that Louis has to then publish that latest version as the current version. But there's also another content rule in place here that says when this document is approved, then I'm going to change the expiry date for a year in advance, so 365 days into the future from when it was reviewed. It's just saying is make it the preferred version. In the real world, you'd probably look at Sue's comments first, just to make sure that she was happy with that. And say reviewed. Now that has automatically in the background made that the latest version. So any other user that needs to look at that home working policy document will have the latest version. It also sets, which you'll see as well, when we go into our folder structure, that home working policy will open up. We'll see it's the latest version. There we go, version 2. And if we look at the properties of this document, you'll then see, if you can see ones at the front, may be able to, Thursday the 19th of October 2017. So it's just going to keep going through that life cycle on a yearly basis. Okay, very simple, very straightforward, not rocket science. Okay, so that's really the end of that demo. What I was going to show, if I've got time, is some of the content rules as well behind that. Okay, but this is going to go live onto our cloud instance. So bear with me 1 second.
Making those changes in the traditional document management system would require an IT involvement to make those changes around the life cycle of those documents, making changes into how easy it is to make those changes. If I'm a line of business owner and I have administration rights, I can make those changes to that process myself. And if it's in the cloud, I don't have to involve anybody at all in those decisions. I run my department or my process exactly how I need to run it.
So, doing a little bit of a live demo here. So I'm just going to search for a folder I created last night called XCM. Within here, I've created 2 folders, finance and HR documents. Okay. What I can do in here, and just show you some of the what you can do being fairly autonomous. If you've been given rights to work within DocuShare, you can create your own folders, etc. So in here, I'm just going to put invoices. I can put summary, etc. against that, but Okay? And I'm going to use the example of the AP demo where we wanted to send something for approval if it was over a certain threshold and price, just to give you an idea on how easy it is to set up business rules within the system. So, as I said, they're called content rules. So I'm going to set up here a content rule. So anything that comes into the invoices folder, an event will be fired. Okay, but I need to listen to certain events within there and trigger a workflow off. So I can say, okay, I want to create a new content rule. Okay, and I'm going to call it invoice over 1,500. Okay, when something's added, when anything's added, what type of object is it? So there's a concept of objects, so I've created an invoice. An invoice will be different to a standard document object. An invoice has an invoice number, supplier name, and account number as well, so, and an invoice amount. So I'm going to say I'm only interested in listening to invoices that have dropped into this particular folder. And if you imagine, it can be from an MFP, it can be from a smartphone, it could be from an imaging platform that automatically drops it into this particular folder. Okay. I then say next to that, I'm not interested in the document type. I can give it more parameters here, more criteria as to, am I only interested in certain things? You know, am I only interested in it's a supplier name? So maybe I'm interested in it being supplier is Mattel, for instance. And we can add conditions on there as well. Okay, but in the instance we gave was, we can just put title back to nothing. In the example we had prior was a numeric value, and that would be the invoice amount. If it equals or is greater than 1,500, then I want to do something with it. And then I'm interested in that document. So it's pulled the metadata for that document, so the data against that document, it's read it, it's gone, okay, is the invoice amount above a certain amount? No, I'm going to ignore it. Yes, it is. I'm going to do some action with it. So I'm going to action that. Maybe it's not kicking off a routing slip, so a workflow. Maybe we could say we want to change the permissions on it. We want to automatically file the content into supplier name and date, so we can do that as well. If we chose this one here, we can convert it from maybe PDF into HTML, or from Word to HTML. We can convert it into a mail message. May not make sense in this particular instance. We can copy, we can create another folder, all based on this one event. Okay? And you can see there's more down here as well. So we could route the document, and we could just create a routing slip and say, I'm going to route that document to the financial director. That's it. That's the job done. And say next, and there's your workflow. Okay? The other things you can do with it as well is you can update an external database. So if you've got line of business systems and you've got access to that database, you could say, yes, it's approved, or it's above a certain amount, and you want to be notified of that within another external system. Okay, so you can hit next here. And just to show, you know, you put your database in there, your host name, etc., and you put in your, whether it's an insert or an update to the database. A very, very, very powerful tool, all from a wizard on a cloud-based system. Okay, doesn't have to be cloud, as I said, be on-premise, but it could be on the cloud, talking to your line of business systems. And you're the one, IT aren't really getting too involved in that. You may need to find out what the SQL Server address is, etc. But you can create your own workflows, and you can build on those as well. So once that workflow's finished, you can say, okay, well, the status of that is it's been approved, then trigger something else. And you just keep building workflow after workflow. Okay.